So as a good luck on finals gift, my mom got me some Hershey's milk chocolate, which is some of my favorite. But then she also got me this rainy day pure tea. I don't know how you pronounce that last word. It's P-U-E-R-H. And okay, don't get me wrong, I love it. It tastes amazing. It kind of has a chai flavor to it, but like with a twist. But something that is strange about it is that, to me, this is just me probably, but to me, it smells like a crawdad boil. Like, you know, when you have the crawdads and the shrimp and the potatoes and the corn and the sausage and you have it all and you boil it. I don't understand because it still tastes amazing. What is it about this that makes my mind go, crawdads? But that aside, I've been coughing a lot today, so I have some tea and it's delicious, but it smells like a crawdad boil. Hey guys, it's Hannah and today I am doing my April Wrap Up May TBR. I don't know if you've noticed. If you haven't noticed, you must be new, so hi, hello, my name's Hannah, welcome to my channel. But if you have noticed, I vlogged basically the entirety of April. I missed quite a few days, but as a whole, I vlogged the month of April because I was doing kind of an experiment, but I don't feel like experiment's the right word, just like a theme for the month. And that was I read mystery books throughout the entire month, and my main focus was to read mysteries. And due to how crazy my April was, I did in fact only read mystery books. So much like my, I think was it February that I mostly read westerns, much like that month, if you're not into mysteries, you might not be interested in this wrap up because that is all that I'll be talking about. But they were all great books, so I do highly recommend that you stay. So if you didn't watch the vlogs, there's 2 of them. It's in 2 parts. I'll leave both of those down below and you can go watch those if you want to kind of see my thoughts throughout it. Like a little bit of my day-to-day life, I mostly talk about how I haven't been studying for tests, which by the way, they all went well, so we're okay over here. But I did talk about that a lot. But this is kind of just like my wrap up for the whole month. I didn't really recap the whole month in the vlogs because I knew that this would just end up being the recap. So welcome to my recap of what I read in the month of April. That is also the recap of everything I read in those 2 vlogs that I recommend you go see because my roommate's cat Bear, he's somewhere in here. I think he's under the bed. Make some appearances. Also, if you haven't been keeping up with my reading this month, I had goals that I wanted to complete for the whole month. I didn't get to one of them, but I got to all but one of them, and I will kind of go through and tell you about what the goal was for each book in case, again, you didn't watch them, but you should totally go watch them. The first goal that I had was to read a book that was kind of centered around food because I feel like a lot of cozy mysteries are somehow centered around food, and this book is actually the one that kind of started my whole idea to do a month of mystery, and that book is Blueberry Muffin Murder by Joanne Fluke. This book is actually the 3rd book in the Hannah Swensen mystery series, so keep that in mind. Don't start with this one. I think the first one's called like Strawberry Shortcake Murder or something along those lines. I think it has something to do with strawberry shortcake, so I definitely recommend starting at the beginning, but reading this one I didn't really feel spoiled for the other 2, so that was nice. But I wouldn't say it's like Nancy Drew exactly where you can just start wherever in the series. I do think it's probably best if you start on the first book as you'd expect. But this book is about Hannah Swensen, and she owns a cookie shop bakery kind of place in a small town in I think Minnesota. Yes, Minnesota. I was right. And they're having a winter carnival in February, and they're having a special guest, Connie Mack. She is this famed television cooking show host, and she's coming in town to kind of be the special guest. And dun dun dun, things happen, and someone winds up dead. You can probably guess who. If you read the back, it tells you who wound up dead, but I didn't read the back, so I didn't know who wound up dead. So murder happens, and Hannah decides to go and solve it. I loved this book. I thought it was a great start to the month. It was fun. Hannah had a very natural kind of humor. She was a very sensible person, which I thought was very nice. I really liked all of the characters. I didn't care much for her love interests, to be honest, but as a whole, I liked all the characters because they all were like they're each unique person, and that was really great. And I just thought the plot moved along really well. I was very invested in the story, and I definitely recommend this series, I think. Now, I haven't read the first 2 in the series, but I think I would definitely recommend this series if you're wanting to get into cozy mysteries. The next book I read was The Boxcar Children by Gertrude Chandler Warner. One of my goals for the month was to reread a favorite childhood mystery because I used to read a whole bunch of mysteries when I was a kid, and I just hadn't really read a whole bunch in a long time, which is kind of what started this whole month. And so one day when I should have been studying for a test, I picked up The Boxcar Children. I read it super quickly and I loved it. It was just very nostalgic. This book is about Henry, Jesse, Violet, and Benny, and their parents just passed away and they're supposed to go live with their grandfather, but they never met their grandfather, so they assume he's this just crazy, evil, and mean man, and so they run away and they end up finding this boxcar and they kind of make a home out of the boxcar. It's a great book for a kid who is kind of in that middle stage of reading where they're not exactly proficient at reading, but they're not a beginner. But another thing about it is it's just fun. It's a fun adventure that they go on, and it's just an all-around like wholesome and great book, and I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it for yourself, for a kid in your life. Pick this up. The next book I picked up was Counterfeit Conspiracies by Richard Ames. This is the first book in the Bodies of Art series, and it was for my challenge to read a Henry Press book. Henry Press is a cozy mystery publisher here in Texas. They're located in Frisco, Texas, and I'm kind of hoping to work in publishing when I graduate, so I've been, you know, kind of researching publishing houses, and they came up in my search bar, and I've been very intrigued ever since. Let's just put it that way. And so I kind of wanted to read something that was published by them, and I found one that was available on my Kindle for $2, and I decided to get it. It was this book and I enjoyed it. It had a slow start. It took me a couple of chapters to get into it. It took me a couple of chapters to kind of enjoy the main character, but once I did, it just kind of kicked off and it was very action-packed, and so it moved very quickly after that, and I was constantly putting off things I should have been doing to read the book. This book is about Laurel. She is a master kind of art recoverer person, and she's supposed to be going on vacation, but then this whole kind of situation arises and the agency she works for is like, we need you, and so she goes and she helps, and then there's this random guy who keeps following her around and trying to get her to help him with stuff, and she can't really trust anybody because things have been compromised, and so it's the whole kind of who can I trust still situation. In the vlog, I kind of mentioned that at the beginning it was kind of making me think of high society but for adults, and I guess I can still kind of see that, but I definitely wouldn't compare the two because they're two completely different things, just that it kind of deals with art and thieving to gift back, and so does high society. So that's kind of the only correlation between the two, but I'd say they're very different books in most regards. I do plan on eventually continue on with the series because I did like where it left off. I like how it ended, and it ended in a kind of unique, I guess, way for a mystery. There were some things between the main character and the like love interest guy that I was concerned about in a way. I talk about that a lot in the vlog, so I'll just let you go over there if you want to like hear in detail about that. But as a whole, I thought it was a great book. If you want to like a really quick mystery read that's very action-packed, definitely recommend. The next book I read was Coffee, Tea, or Murder by Jessica Fletcher and Donald Bain. My challenge for this book was to read a Murder, She Wrote book, because if you don't know what Murder, She Wrote is, it is a fantastic TV show. Angela Lansbury has Jessica Fletcher, who is a mystery author, and she ends up solving murder mysteries in real life, and it is a fantastic television show, and there are books that are based off the show. So in this book there is a new airline called Silver Air, and they're having their big grand opening flight from Boston to London, and so they've invited press and all these famous people, and then just the people from the small town where the kind of main owner is from, but there's a couple of co-owners. But once they get to London, someone gets murdered, and then Jessica helps figure out who done it. And I thought it was good. It was very descriptive in a way that made me kind of skim read, and like for a mystery book they're kind of supposed to be descriptive, but it was descriptive of just completely random things, and it just kind of left me a little uninterested. And also it was just really weird to be in Jessica's head in this way, because sometimes she seemed like the same person she is on the show, and other times it just felt weird, and I didn't always like that. And so I don't think I'll read another Murder, She Wrote book. I'm glad I have read one, but I don't think I'll go back to it just because it's so weird to go from Jessica Fletcher on the screen to Jessica Fletcher in a book. But as a whole, I think it was a pretty good book. It was just weird for me since I'm so familiar with the show. The next book I read was Killer Run by Lynn Cahoon. This is the 5th book in the Tourist Trap Mysteries series. So I kind of had a trend of accidentally reading the like 3rd book in a series, or the 5th book in a series, or hang on, or Coffee, Tea, or Murder was the 27th book in the Murder, She Wrote book series, which in that one I had a feeling it didn't matter, and it didn't matter because since it is based off the show, whole different situation, so that one doesn't matter. But in Hannah Swensen and in A Tourist Trap, it does kind of matter, especially in Tourist Trap more so than Hannah Swensen, because there were more times where they'd be like, remember that time when blah 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 blah, and you're like, okay, and you don't know what they're talking about, and you know you just got spoiled. So with this one, I definitely recommend reading the first one and then continuing on numerically through the series. And this book was to fit my challenge, read a pun in the title book, because I feel like a lot of cozy mysteries have puns in the titles, which, can I just say, is one of my favorite things. And so the pun in this one is there is a marathon happening, and so that is the run part, and then someone dies, and so there is a killer. So killer, run, beautiful. This book is about Jill, and she owns a bookshop, coffee shop store called Coffee, Books, and More, and there is a wall behind her house that they're trying to get certified for this like historical society thing, and they're having a run to benefit that. So they're dealing with all these like society people and society rules and regulations, and then someone winds up dead on the trail. And so she, against the wishes of her detective boyfriend, tries to solve who did it. But there's also like some vandalism going on, and there's also some business expanding rumors happening, so there's a couple of different trails. And what I liked about this book is the way the information was presented made sense. Like sometimes in mysteries I feel like the author presents facts in a really muddled way to try and keep you in the dark and to try and keep you from guessing who it is, and that's just kind of weak if the only way you can keep your reader in the dark is by completely skewing the information. But with this book, it was presented in a very practical way, and so you got the information but you were still confused because it was just well written in that way. I'm not quite sure if this is making sense, but that's what I felt like happened in the book. I loved Jill. I loved her relationship with Greg, her boyfriend, because it was very domestic. They're in an established relationship, but just the way it was presented was just so calming. I really enjoyed that, and I loved her aunt. I don't think I talked about her enough in the vlog, but I absolutely adored her aunt. She was hilarious and I loved her. And again, like with the Hannah Swensen series, I loved all of the characters because they were all unique, but they all felt so real and like actual tangible people that you could meet or you could know in your real life, and not just a character in a book. Like they didn't seem fake. They all seemed very authentic. This whole book just had a very authentic ring to it, even though, you know, there's like a murder mystery happening, and so there's like a killer and there's sleuthing, but it just felt very natural and very authentic, and I really enjoyed that. Needless to say, I really loved this book. It was one of my favorites from the month. This book and the next book that I'll talk about are, I think, my two favorites from the whole month. Highly recommend, go read it. And the last book I read in the month of April, which was for the challenge to read an Agatha Christie Miss Marple book. That is The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie, a Miss Marple mystery. I have had this book on my shelf ever since I found it for like $1 at a local thrift store, and I've been meaning to get to it, and I finally have, and I'm so glad I did because this is my favorite Agatha Christie book so far. This is only the third Agatha Christie book I read so far, but it's still my favorite of those three. One day the Bantrys wake up to discover that there is a dead body in their library of a young woman who neither of them have ever met before. And so they are very confused, and the inspectors are very confused, but Miss Marple, oh, she's not confused. She's never confused. She's so smart. And so you just kind of follow the inspectors and Miss Marple and the Bantrys and all these other characters as they try and discover who this girl is and why she's dead and how she ended up in the Bantrys library. Fantastic. Agatha Christie just has a way with words that is ingenious. Just the way she presents the information and the way she writes the dialogue. I loved the dialogue. The busybodies in the town, just Miss Marple, everything was beautiful. And just the way she presented the information was great, because she once had like a whole chapter just kind of recapping some things, going over new information, and it was just these inspectors as they were giving their information that they got, and I just really liked having it presented like that because it made you feel a part of the investigation. Definitely recommend this book. If you're wanting to get into cozy mysteries, Agatha Christie, you can't go wrong. I highly recommend this book. So now on to my May TBR. The one challenge that I didn't finish was to read a Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot book. So in May, I'm hoping to get to Third Girl by Agatha Christie. I have a couple of Hercule Poirot books, but this is the one I was planning on picking up for the month, and I still want to get to it, so I'm hoping to read this next. However, I did start another book last night, so I'll probably read that one first and then go back to this one. I don't know what happens in this book, but it's Agatha Christie, so I'm sure I will highly enjoy it. The book I picked up instead of Third Girl was Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett. This is her new release. It came out, I think it was like middle of April, and my sister pre-ordered it, and so she read it, and now she's lending it to me to read. I am only 4-ish chapters in, not very far. I'm a little hesitant because the main character in this book was homeschooled, and fun fact, I was homeschooled my entire life, and I run into a common problem where homeschoolers in books are portrayed in just like the stereotypical way, and I'm a little concerned that she will also be portrayed in that way. It's kind of happening already, but I trust June Bennett, so I have hope. I think it'll be good. That's kind of, I feel like, gonna be my only problem, because some homeschoolers are the stereotypical homeschooler. That's how stereotypes happen, but I'm getting a bit tired of every single homeschooler being this super shy, reclusive, can't socialize kind of a person, because that's not the case. So I want to finish this. I'm hoping I can finish it over the weekend and then I can start Third Girl, but we'll see how long it takes me. As of filming this, I only have 2 finals left. When you watch this, I'll be out of school. Hallelujah, I'll be free, okay? But I'm not free yet. And the last book so far on my TBR for May is Guidebook to Murder by Lynn Cahoon. Can you see that? Or should I say Cahoon see that? I don't know if I should put that in. I got this book on my Kindle from my library's ebook system, and it is the first book in the A Tourist Trap mystery series. Since that one was my favorite, and I just fell in love with that series, I really want to go back and read at least the first 4 as soon as possible. So I downloaded that one onto my Kindle from a library, and I'm hoping to get to it as soon as I finish Third Girl. Also, I'll be probably looking at my calendar, be doing quite a bit of traveling towards the end of May, and I think all of the Tourist Trap books are on my library's ebook system, which will be great because I do try to get books on my Kindle when I travel, because y'all know it's just so much easier to read like on a plane and like when you're traveling if you just have everything on your one Kindle. Plus, I've already been looking at bookstores at the places I'm going, so I'm gonna need all of that room in my suitcase for my new books. So I don't want to be bringing books I already own, so I have room for the new ones. You know, y'all know how it works. That aside, so I'm hoping to get to more than just the first one this month, but that is the one I currently have on my Kindle. So that's it for this video. Comment down below and let me know if there is a childhood favorite book that you want to reread, or if there is a childhood favorite book that would kind of catalyst a whole themed reading month. Also comment down below and let me know what your favorite tea companies are, because I love loose leaf tea and I'm always on the hunt for more of it. So far my favorites are On Deluxe, Adagio, and Riddle's Tea Shop. You went out on my arms? Oh, I will say there's the Tea and Spice Company, I think is what it's called, and they have a blueberry black tea that is perhaps my favorite tea of all time. So that tea takes the cake, but those are my favorite tea companies. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see y'all again in another one soon. Say bye to the camera.